Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 162. I'm your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. Welcome. It's Thursday, so you know it's just the Thursday talks. We're chilling. I haven't been here for a while, a bit under the weather, but there are big things coming. This week, I had the very first mindful conversation, a new segment that I'm introducing, long form podcasts conversations that would be dropping on my YouTube channel. I had the very first one this week. After I get through that bit of lengthy editing, I'll be dropping that over on YouTube. Stay tuned for that. And there will be much more interesting conversations coming up. I have a few people already lined up and more people in mind that would be very interesting to, just sit and talk to. Sometimes, you hear clips of people and you don't really have a solid understanding of where they're coming from. So to sit and have a long conversation with them to really break down the kind of thinking this person has. So we were talking about football though at the beginning here. Wasa says, it has lots of articles saying he got the green light to join them in the finals. Oh, well, I don't know that. I didn't see those articles. France versus Argentina prediction. Listen, as I said, I would like to see the old GOAT. I'd like to see Messi win. I really would. I'd like to see Messi win. But if we're talking honest predictions here, I find that Argentine team isn't particularly a strong team. And their defense isn't particularly secure. I am just a by the way Argentine fan. I'm looking at that game with a nearly neutral heart. If I see Mbappe, Dembele, those guys raise the cup, I won't be hurt. If I were a true Argentine fan, like true Argentine fan, I would have been worried watching Mbappe have to face some of that defense there, to be very honest with you. Like, except for the fact that I want Messi to win, I'm feeling like France may have that in general. Generally, it seems like it's the French game to win. It's the French game to win. I'll put them as the favorites to win. That's what I'll do. Mbappe, I think, is too good. The thing with Mbappe is not, I wouldn't just say he's too good. It's just he's fast. He's really, really fast. And a lot of these teams in the World Cup now have older defenders. When you have a speedy, nippy striker like Mbappe, that's a really difficult thing. Every team that ever had a speedy striker was a difficult thing to deal with. Cameroon, when they had Samuel Eto'o speeding down the in front there, they were very difficult to deal with. When Fat Man Ronaldo wasn't that fat and playing for Brazil in that 94, 98, 2002 World Cup, in those World Cups when he had his speed, that was something fearsome to deal with. The guy would literally just kick it and run it down. And you look at Mbappe, that's the same thing he's doing. I watch this World Cup and I laugh at Mbappe on that wing. The guy gets the ball, kick it down the line and just say, let's go for a run. 4 goals to France, 1 goal to Argentina. Wow. I don't know if I'll put it that much, but it's a difficult. I'll say it again. It's a difficult game for Argentina to win. It's not an easy one for Argentina to win. It's difficult. As I was saying, I saw some people were speaking about the fact that when Morocco played France, it was they built the game as a colonized versus colonizer. It's the battle of the midfield. It might indeed be. You see, if Argentina's midfield is able to boss the game somehow and keep the ball away enough from the French, they may have more of a chance. But we'll see how that goes. But I was seeing it built as a game of the colonizers versus the colonized. And something that bothers me nearly when I see people talk about history, the way how one track minded so many people are about history. When many people think about colonizers, for some reason, they only see Europeans as being possible colonizers. But colonizing was the way of the world. Colonizing, if you're a strong country, that's what you did. You colonized the weaker areas around you. So Morocco Morocco is also a colonized place. The reason there was some friction earlier on in the World Cup when Morocco was saying that this win was on behalf of the Arabs. Colonizers, that team is mostly of African descent. But listen to this, El Wally. Do you know that the Arabs also colonized Africa? Like, they are Arabs. The Moroccan team said that they were doing this on behalf of the Arabs, and this is a big leap for the Arabs, and they identify with Arabs. But if you think about this, Arabs are originally from where? Arabia. Like, there's a literal name for this. The Arabs are from Arabia. Like, the Europeans are from Europe. The reason that there are Arabs in North Africa isn't just a matter of, immigration. It was that the Arabs colonized the entirety of the Middle East and Northern Africa. So, I find it so funny that some people always take such great offense when you look at European colonization, but when you look at Arabian colonization, that's fine for some strange reason. The Europeans colonized and spread their religion all around the world, so you don't take that white man's religion. No, you don't take that. That's the religion of the colonizer. But you go back to a religion in Africa and you recognize that's also a religion of a colonizer even there too. History is a complicated thing, it is a really complicated thing. So when you look at France versus Morocco, you could say, all right, colonizers versus the colonized, but it's newer colonizers versus older colonizers, really and truly. The natives of Northern Africa were Berbers. That's an African racial group. The Berbers, they were there for a very long time. Not Arabian, just by the way, in terms of history. So when you're looking at that, yeah. When will we see a Caribbean country reaching a World Cup semis? I guess when they're good enough. When they're good enough. It's like there are some realities with it. A smaller country, like if you're looking at it just on the basis of probability, a smaller country just has a lower probability of producing 12 top class players that are at the best. It's just a smaller probability if you're looking at it just based on probability. But I guess if you're looking at it based on probability, China and India are supposed to have the best teams for every sport. I mean, they have what? 1.5 billion people each. If you could go through 1.5 billion people, I'm sure there may be a best bum Chinese football side out there for them just to go out and find. But when you have a smaller country, it's just the matter of probability. You have fewer people to choose from to choose a really good side. I feel that if FIFA takes back Uncle Jack, we might GT. So what you're saying, positive radiation, is that this whole GTing in FIFA business is all corruption. You see it as being all corruption. So for us to GT, we have to have an inside man. The only way we GT is by having an inside man. England arguably has the best infrastructure and academies for football and still fall short. True RL. I will say it's not just the academies and all of that stuff. Ooh. Okay. I would say it's not just the academies and all that stuff. There's a bit of hunger too. So like Brazil. There's a hunger in many Brazilian youths for excellence in football because they see it as a way out. It's not only in Brazil too. When you look at many of the more disadvantaged communities and look specifically at sporting areas and avenues that they are better in. Kelkel says back in 2018, Argentina versus France ended 4-3. Argentina had a much weaker team. I won't say France that much favorite. Kelkel, you're right. As many people point out, football is played on the day, not on paper. Isn't Croatia the smallest country to reach these semi or finals? I'm not sure. They may very well be. But the part of the thing with Europe is just the nature of those countries isn't necessarily the same as all other countries. But as I was saying, there's a side that has to do with the hunger too. When you look at many disadvantaged communities and you look at the sports that they take a liking to, so you look at Brazilians and football. Brazil has a large population beneath the poverty line. Lots of street children in Brazil. Football is an avenue. If you excel at football, it's an avenue from poverty to the top of riches. And you see what happens with that in Brazil. You look at some of the inner city communities in the United States and basketball or NFL, and you see how they push some of that from the inner cities. You look at India and cricket, and you see like they're just producing cricketers by the millions by the day. It's just something you see in that sporting arena. You look at Cubans and baseball, or some of those South Americans and boxing even, and you see so there's a side that has the hunger to do with it. And I think this is my theory with England. Like, I feel England is just not a side with that kind of hunger. They're not a side that has that kind of hunger. Many of the players playing in England, they aren't playing with the hunger for football. They're playing, and I'm stereotyping here. I understand I'm stereotyping. Yes, I am. But they're playing as, mommy carried me since I was 3-year-old to the football clinic, and I learned football. And this is just something that I learned going up through. And they may not have the same hunger as some of those other countries. Tony the Ambassador says, when we made the World Cup, we have a number of players in the Premier League and other leagues. That's true. And we don't have as many players experienced out there now too. And that is an issue. That is an issue. How many players do you have that are experienced on the world stage, on the world level? That's an interesting question. All right. Any other further comments on that football and World Cup topic, or are we going to jump into some news? I saw that the promoters, there's some bacchanal going on with the Burna Boy. How many of you already have your tickets? I hear there are some concerns about whether the event would actually take place, whether there is actually going to be Burna Boy burning down where are they holding now? Somewhere O2 Park, right? I heard there's some bacchanal now. One promoter is suing the next promoter. Nathan, can you coach any sport? I mean, I think I can. I believe I can, but I'm not qualified in coaching any sport. But I believe I'd be able to coach a sport like to save my life. I mean, a lot of it is discipline and understanding the strategy of the sport. But yeah. Burna Boy. Anybody out there going to the Burna? How much for those tickets? I was wondering that. How much for those tickets? In this difficult time that we're facing in Trinidad, how much people are paying for those tickets? And the tickets to an event that seems like it's iffy now. But I saw the promoter said the event is actually still going to go. 500, well, that's not actually that bad. The promoter said the event is still going on. So the bacchanal I heard is that the original promoter that started the event, he got cut out by a secondary promoter who linked up with Burna Boy's agents, and they cut out the first promoter or some bacchanal like that, and they want to take them to court. But the second promoter is saying that don't worry about any fake news out there. The event is still happening. Don't worry about that. So I guess that's that. A video I saw this week though that really disturbed me. I don't know how much longer my throat and voice would give me, but this is something that I wanted to speak about. A video I saw this week that really disturbed me. Police in action again. And regularly when you see the comments on those police brutality videos, you see people talking about, you're also quick to film and complain. You're also quick to film and complain about the police, but you all don't film and complain when the bandits doing it. And I understand this sentiment, but you must understand it's not the same thing. You must understand the expectation from a police and the expectation from a bandit should not be the same thing. Do you really want people to expect the same from the police and the bandits, or shouldn't it be that people should expect more from the police? I think that's how it should be. Let's look at the article that covers it, and then we'll jump into the actual evidence about it. Child traumatized, hurt during brutal arrest of relative. The Police Complaints Authority has launched an investigation into an incident in Belmont in which a child was injured and 2 men were arrested and charged on Tuesday. The incident occurred near the St. Augustine Road and Gloucester Link Road, Belmont. 2 officers of the Port of Spain Task Force were on mobile patrol when they stopped the car the men were traveling in. It is alleged that the incident escalated between lawmen and the suspects, following which the driver and the passenger were arrested. That sentence alone, to me, shows one of the main problems with our police service. If you, as an officer, stop someone and they aren't breaking a law, for what reason should the incident escalate? It should be because law enforcement should and are expected to be held to a higher standard. Exactly 14 carat. But for what reason should these incidents escalate? And I will tell you the reason plainly. Because our police are antagonists. A lot of the police serving in our police service are antagonists by nature. They don't know the first step in the escalation. When they step out into a situation, they step out with arrogance and ego and escalate a situation that could have ended amicably and escalated to a ridiculous level. There's no reason that a police making a regular stop, not charging anyone for criminal conduct, there's no reason that situation is supposed to escalate. And escalation should be looked at with the police. Positive Radiation says, Nathan, when Gary wanted police officers to pay a proportion when they court ruled against the police. Well, we know that the Police Welfare Association will not want that. We know they won't be okay with that. A video posted to social media showed a group of officers intervening in a situation involving the 2 men, one of whom was holding the baby. The incident is said to have escalated because the baby's father was in another vehicle and had allegedly been beaten by officers. He was hospitalized as a result of the incident and subsequently discharged. While the audio is not clear and does allow the listener to understand what triggered the incident, a male officer is seen taking the child from one of the men and later handing the child to a uniformed female officer. This even as several other uniformed officers physically detained the 2. Alright. They said an investigation is at hand. Guardian Media learned from the persons involved in the matter that following a medical examination, the child was said to be fine except for some swelling near the neck. Good night, Nathan Alexander. The child had some swelling near the neck. The 2 men were later charged with disorderly conduct, disorderly behavior, resisting arrest, and obscene language. The 3 most suspicious charges. Anytime you see those charges, I said it, resisting arrest by itself. When you see resisting arrest without anything substantive other than that, you could, hey Joel Chow, it's been a while, bro. Season's greetings. When you see resisting arrest without any other substantive charge, you could consider that a resisting bullying charge. That was resisting bullying. That's what that charge is. The charge isn't resisting arrest, it's resisting bullying. And oftentimes it isn't even resisting, it's just bullying. President of the Fathers Association of TNT, Randall Fields, said he was appalled when he saw the videos. I am totally appalled to see that type of behavior displayed by the police officer, because I can attest personally, working alongside the TTPS with a number of other officers that are actually trying to bridge that gap and trying to build community relations. And I think this is a big blow. This is a big blow, Fields said. I replied, I don't usually reply to comments I see online generally, but I had to reply to one I saw on Instagram, because I saw someone saying that this good for them men. That is what them men deserve. Them kind of men deserve that. And I'm thinking, okay, let's say that we know for sure this is some kind of them kind of men. This is a bad man. We know that for sure. We don't, but let's say we do. What is slapping him and beating him up in front of his child going to accomplish towards positivity in Trinidad? It's going to decrease the trust among the community. So that doesn't help there. It isn't going to help to keep him in prison, because it's going to help the case to be thrown out faster. You stand a chance that he's going to gain some money off the state after he sues the state over it. So what is the benefit of this? How does that benefit anyone in the country? They don't think that for Nathan, but they should. Tony the ambassador says. 14 Carat says, and couldn't or bullied and take it out on others now. I've always stated that officers are persons who wanted to fit in when they were in school and couldn't, or bullied and take it out on others now since they have a little power. I don't disagree. Many officers obviously are either they were bullies in schools or they were bullied in schools, and they came out here with a chip on their shoulder to prove something. So that the child deserves that. People out here are super weird. Yes, they are super weird. Many people are really, really weird. That child could be a lifelong police hater. That's very likely. That's very likely. Fields said the child could have been severely injured because of the police. Sorry, because of the officer's actions. I am not saying that policing is an easy thing to do at certain times, but it comes with the territory that you have to have a greater level of emotional intelligence, because it is going to be hard out there, Fields said. Fields said the thing that stood out to him most was that the suspect did not respond violently. He exercised more emotional intelligence than the officers who struck him, because he withheld that violent response or the fight up that we normally see in other areas. And I think that is what disappointed me most. This is what we ask the community members to do. This is what we ask members of the public to do. Don't resist. So it leads me to another question as well. Where does it start, and who is responding to who? Is it that the TTPS is responding in this manner due to the apparent past or historical hostility of certain communities, or is it vice versa? Or does the hostile behavior that we see being displayed in these communities, the community's reaction to the hostile behavior that they have endured by the police historically? And therein lies the major and massive question. And I agree. Which one came first? Because I could tell you, having lived in some communities that have had some more negative policing, you've seen the negative side of police. Yo, Kim Oliver, yes, you are a bit late. I have seen the negative side of policing, and it does leave a horrible taste in your mouth. I know many what you would call law-abiding citizens who live in hotspot communities and despise police. They don't break laws, they aren't drug dealers, they aren't drug pushers, they aren't drug users, they aren't robbers or bandits, and they despise the police. And this is why, because they have seen incidences like this played out over and over and over again. And I pulled up the video there for those of you who might be on my YouTube channel. I know most of you may be looking at this on TikTok or Instagram, but if you're over there on YouTube, you'd be able to see the video. Someone has the full video, the full context pulled up over on Facebook, I believe that is. The full context is over there, the full video. The video is around 7 minutes long. I don't want to join police because of things like this. And I don't blame you, Positive Radiation. I don't blame you. I know people who left the police because of things like this. And I think the full video negates all the attempted context the police might give. And even that article had some things hedging and saying in a certain way. When you look at the full video from the beginning, the man is angry. The man with the child is angry. I listened to the video and I didn't hear the man cuss. But he was clearly angry. He was arguing with the police. And in the end, when the small-minded, immature, little abusive man, who is a police officer, beat up the man, he was beating him up over the man being angry with the police. So it's like it's against the law for you to be angry with the police. How dare you be angry with the police for them cussing you? What the man was angry for, he was angry because the police, when they stopped him, they cussed him. And there you hear, that's the start of it. I see someone here saying, why is he arguing with the officer? These kind of comments, yes, it's on YouTube. I am playing it on my YouTube channel right now, Nathan Springer over there on YouTube. These kind of comments, it upsets me because it has the tone of someone who enjoys living as a slave. It has that tone. How dare you argue with an officer? Who do you think an officer is? Do you think this is the slave master that you are supposed to bow down to? Like, what are you talking about? It is not illegal to argue with a police officer. If a police officer comes, accosts you, what the man is arguing about, he is saying that he wants all of their numbers because they cussed him and took his license, so he's upset. He wants all of their police numbers and he's arguing with them to do the right thing. That's what he's arguing about. And then we have people in our society who would be like, how dare you argue with the police? Like, what do you think police are? And it's that attitude that gives the police that kind of attitude they have. Like, oh no, when the police come, how dare we whisper a word to them? Of course he's not wrong to ask for their numbers. That's what you're supposed to do. And all of this arguing where he's talking to the police trying to find out what's going on, that is going on for all up to 4 minutes. And little coward, brother, them fellas is Pest you defending. Pest. Okay, Kayo, I suppose you now tuned in to when I started speaking. And I just broke down, how do you expect this to alleviate them being a pest? How does this stop them being a pest? How? Is slapping him up in front of his child going to stop him from being a pest? Is beating him up in front of his child, in front of the community, going to somehow get him to stay in prison? What is the benefit of this? No, I'm not even asking if they are a pest. Let's even give you that assumption. Yes, these men are pests. Okay. If that is the truth, how does any of this benefit the society in getting rid of these pests? What does that do? What is the benefit? Most of our population don't know the law and know your rights as a citizen. That is assault. Of course it is assault. And he very likely is going to get some money out of that. As many of them do. Making them uncomfortable. And what is making them uncomfortable going to do? What is that going to do? All it's going to do is fuel his hatred for police. You think that's going to change the man? Like, this is me. Yeah, you bring out the cough there. I'm trying to figure out, like, how is this process of thinking? How does this work? And when you look at the video, for 4 minutes, this little coward of a police officer stands there and does nothing. He does nothing. You can call Kayo. You can come up. There's an option to come up and speak here. For 4 minutes, this coward of an officer does nothing. He does nothing. As soon as backup reaches, when there are enough officers to overrun the entire place, then all of a sudden he remembers he's a man. He remembers he's a man. Now, I could tell you, when you look at the behavior of this officer here, the man right before this is happening is talking to the WPC there and trying to ask her, so you didn't hear when your officer cussed me, officer? You didn't hear when your officer cussed me? Officer, you didn't hear when your officer cussed me? That's what he's talking about. The next thing, some backup reaches, and all of a sudden, the little coward gets confidence, runs up and starts to slap the man. He slaps the man because the man tells him, take it easy. And hits the child in the process. Hits the child in the process. Slaps the man because he tells him, take your time. And beat up the man on the ground for telling him, take your time. I could tell you a man like that, that man, during the investigation, they need to find out if he has a wife or a girlfriend. Go and investigate his wife or girlfriend, because I could tell you that man is an abuser. If that man cannot take somebody telling him, take your time, what is he going to do to a wife or a girlfriend inside of a house if she dares tell him anything? No, and then in society, we are so surprised when we learn that police officers have the highest incidence of domestic abuse, because these are the kind of people we are training inside of the police office, inside of the police service. This man is a domestic abuse case waiting to happen, or probably, very likely, already happening. That's a man who cannot control himself. He doesn't have a secure masculinity to be able to say, okay, people could tell me such things, but I can still be secure in my masculinity and still handle myself like a professional and do my job properly. If he loses control on the road in front of a baby with a strange man, what is he going to do in his home with no one else there to a loved one, a lady? I remember in my younger days, an officer tried to bully his way onto my aunt's residence, and I told him flatly, if he comes in here without a warrant or just cause, I'll kick him in his chest. They may shoot you for that. The thing is, he didn't even consider the child in the man's hand. He didn't, because he lost control. That's a man who doesn't have control. He obviously doesn't have control. Kayo, if you want to call, there's a guest. Is someone waiting? Hey, you are waiting there, Kyle. Let's switch this to dual. Make sure it's picking you up. Are you talking?
Oh, good night.
Good night. Good night, Kyle.
Things nice, brother.
Things nice, man. Things nice.
I'm listening to you because your song you make a lot of sense in the most of the things that you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But tonight, I tend to disagree with you. Let me tell you why. I am also a member of the services.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You see what all is seen on social media?
Yeah.
That is not in the real world. When they're outside it. Let me tell you something. Let me make one point. When if it was the commissioner of police, how the crime rate was?
Lower.
Right, because why? Gary Griffith was an asshole. Gary Griffith is only channel. Cool, calm, collective, McDonald. Sometimes, buddy, I hope you've seen the crime rate.
Mm-hmm.
Be close to breaking the record. Sometimes you need madmen on the team to let them fellas know that there's somebody more mad than all it.
I understand what you're saying, you know.
Listen, brother, I am talking 17 years of experience outside it.
Mm-hmm.
In Lavantil, in Sealots, Beaton, I know. Listen, you wouldn't pray to see a criminal beg for pity. If you don't know them, if you don't know them, you will feel sorry for them.
I believe you.
Nobody can cry and beg for pity like a criminal.
I do not doubt
I saw it with my own eyes. Trust me, with my own eyes. And you see that officer? I love him. And we need more like them in the service.
So
these fellas are them getting out of hand. But you see they won't break in a house and shoot a man and kill a father, boy.
I saw that.
When these fellas coming, you saw that. Listen, these same fellas that when they see you outside, they crying and begging for pity.
I don't doubt that.
And you confronted the police. And listen, you confronted a police officer. And you have carrying your hand. But I have two children. And I myself to this video wrote it. You see when I am my two boys? I see best thing in the world. I can't even mash hands. You see when I am my two children with me? I can't even mash hands. Because I don't want to draw no attention to them. And as I'm saying, or make no confusion to frighten them. So I just try to be, you see when they're gone, I lose again.
Yeah,
So,
I understand what you're saying, but just now, let me get a point across with that. Here's the problem that we create in this. I know for a fact, I have lived in hotspot communities. Just how you saying you know for a fact that you've seen criminals beg, I've seen them beg too. But I know for a fact that police are criminals too. And I'm sure you know that inside the service for 17 years. We know that. We know that in Trinidad. The reason our crime is the way it is isn't because we don't have bad man police enough. We have a lot of bad man police. The reason our crime is the way it is because we have too many corrupt police. And that's my view because I've lived around areas and I've seen when police come to raid the block and the police officers tell the men on the block that, hey, I could tell you who do it and XYZ do it. I'm talking about things I know personally. I've seen that. I've seen people report the block and the police come over and over and over, keep telling them until no one reports the block anymore. So we aren't lacking bad man police. We're lacking honest police. What we're lacking is police who would treat people like human beings and go through the actual process. What this police just did there is ensure that this man is going to win some money from the state. I remember back in the state of emergency when the People Partnership said, okay, all of these pests, here's what we're going to do. We know all the pests, so we're going to go in there and take them up. They scrape up hundreds of men. And I could tell you, I knew some of them were actual pests. Some of them were real criminals. You were police back then, so I'm sure you would know that too. Some of them were real criminals. How many of them were still in jail at the end? Not one. And do you know nearly all of them won money on top of that? So now there are rich pests inside of the country. So yes, you feel good about yourself as an officer. You slap up the bad man. Yeah, no bad man could play bad in front of you. You slap him. But that doesn't benefit anyone in this society. If you want to show yourself as being so serious, and I want a madman to do, here's what I want a madman police to do. Run down on Prezi Block. Run down by who take over for Berkey now. Go down by those guys and play mad and grab them and throw them and beat them up. Go and do that to the top. Go and do that to the top. When you're coming at the bottom, wait, at the bottom of the ladder and stamping up that, we know that those guys are replaceable. They aren't the real ones causing the problems. Good evening, Scafty. That's my problem with it. I understand what you're saying. I know some men are pests out there. And I understand as a police it can be difficult to prove who is the real pest. So sometimes you're trying to squeeze them beside the legal process. I understand that, and don't get me wrong, I criticize police a lot, but I have quite a few police friends and quite a few police relatives, and I understand the difficulty of the job. My problem with this is this does not make things better, and it does not make the job easier. That man just put a bigger target on his back. Go read the comments on the general Instagram pages. Some of those pages already posted his picture and his name, and they're talking about his address. And those aren't people who are regular criminals. Some of them are just regular citizens looking around and really upset at bullying. Because I can tell you, when I look at that, my blood reached to my head. I don't know none of those guys. but my blood reached to my head. Being a father, seeing police slap a man only when your backup reach, it looks like advantage. You look like a bully. That's what you look like. You don't look like the person trying to get peace in the country. And I don't see how it would help. Let me hear you. You can go ahead.
I hope I'm calling your live, but
no, boy, this is what he live about. This is what he live about.
I just want to say two things. You look like a law-abiding citizen, not so?
Yeah.
You feel if that was you driving on the road, you feel the police will pull up on you and not treat you.
Chances are not. Chances are.
Because you are what?
A law-abiding citizen.
You are a law-abiding citizen. One. Number two, I quite agree, and you're correct with the corruption with the police service. But the corruption has begun from where?
It's up. Politicians. It's up, yes.
So with the police, you need to deal with the politicians. But I was nice speaking to you. I'll let me live your life.
Yeah, man. It was nice. It was. Thank you very much for coming up.
It was nice.
Thank you very much for coming up.
Okay, man. Take care.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't lie. You have the voice of an officer too, eh? I hear it in the voice. Where are you going? I hear that. I thought I could hear that voice telling me, wind down that window.
Call him man back. I have a question. Call him man back. Tell him come back. I have some questions. Tell him come, sir, come back, please.
Oh, what trouble is this? Are you his?
Yeah, because
you're his senior officer, yeah? Sir, come back, please.
If I was a senior officer, I would have said, come here. I am saying, please, sir, please. That shows respect. I would like to find out. Whilst it is, I think at any point in time, we could all understand it from the both perspectives. My question is, especially when executing their duties, you cannot always use the I am up as your excuse to execute it however you want to execute it. Even as an officer, you have a code of conduct. Even to arrest somebody, even to take somebody in, whatever the case is, there is a way a procedure that you're supposed to follow. There is a way that you're supposed to do it. Granted, yes, sometimes people fight back, sometimes people resist, etc., blah, blah, blah. I am not saying no at all. But polls, in any situation with an officer, is supposed to have the higher level of professionalism, the higher standard of care, of service, of this, of that, of the next, whatever word you want to use. Who is supposed to have it? The regular citizen, or the citizen you're arresting, the citizen you're bringing up on whatever, you're pulling them aside for whatever the case is, or you? As a representative of the law, as a representative of the state, as a representative of justice.
Well, Kayo is back. He can answer for himself.
Hi, sir. Good night.
Good night. First begin, I want to correct all here. People, I'm not a police officer. I am a soldier member of the regiment.
That was, sorry, service.
Okay.
All right.
Service one. And let me deal with the back hat.
Right. Because police have been inconsistent, that is why there is this level of distrust and the high doubt that surrounds them every time something happens. There is no time that because of how things have happened previously and continue to happen, you could never see a situation and be like, for the police to behave like that means that they had no other choice. Because it have times where it is they just behave like that because they get home, because they leave home without breakfast, because somebody put them in the car before they come outside and he vex. That's why I'm asking, isn't there supposed to be a higher standard of professionalism, of this, of that, of the next? When it comes to officers, you're supposed to be trained in multiple areas. And if it is you trigger happy, if it is you lash happy, when it is you surrounded by your batch, all of a sudden you have the confidence and the audacity to want to just be a badge. You're just a person uniform.
We are no, you can't see this. You can't see. Listen, you know what is trying to understand civilians? You have to understand. Nobody doesn't accept the bad boys. When they kill and they rob in and they just innocent people. Nobody doesn't make life and chastise. And nobody does. Listen, I'll tell you something. I must know that
you know anybody going around praising people for killing other people?
You know what's saying? That it really hard. Let me tell you something. I'm a student 6 years and I tell you that I don't jealous a police officer at all. A police officer is a very hard. I feel it's one of the hardest work in the land. It's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect. People need to understand that those police officers are human beings. As human beings, and they have problems like everybody else. Yes, their level of training, you know what I'm saying? They help them to deal with situations like that better, but everybody might not have the same mindset or the same calmness in the situation. That is why if you watch the video, all the officers wasn't like that.
Correct. Yeah,
man was the aggressive one because he's the one with the hot head.
Here's
I was not telling Nathan, you just need a hot head sometime in his squad. You just need that.
I don't think you need him. I think he's a liability. And as you were saying there, everyone is human and we have to recognize that. I fully agree. But here's the point I try to put in that. I say the same thing about doctors and nurses. You see, as a police, you're dealing with somebody sometimes at a critical point in their life. If you're stopping me to tell me around Christmas time that I am going to have to pay the government $2,000 for some kind of weird something on my car, that is a high point of stress in my life. Yeah, that's just another day in your job, but it's a high point of stress in my life. If you meet me at that point, while it's just another point in your day, who is supposed to be the more rational, calm-minded one? You are, because it's your job. That's what people are paying you to do. It's like if a nurse is being a nurse. There was a viral TikTok that went on where some nurses complained about what pregnant women did and what their family did, and it's their ick, their personal icks they didn't like. All of them were fired from the hospital they worked at. They were talking about their personal icks and they didn't like how certain people complained and how certain women complained, but they were fired. Because the thing is, although it icks you, although it bothers you, you are being paid to take that ick.
That is exactly what I was going to say. When it is you coming and talking about Mr. Hothead, Mr. Sue, hear me out. You sign up for a job that is high stress, that is literally one that is going to question and put you in positions where it is you have to question your morality sometimes. Where it is at points in time you have to make decisions at the spur of the moment, and those decisions could possibly haunt you for the rest of your life. The job is not an easy one, but it is one you sign up for, right? So I am not sorry for you for choosing that career path, and correct me if I'm wrong, and at any point in time you could leave the police service if it is you're not happy. Has that changed? So when it is you say that this person is a hothead, why is this an excuse? Why is this an excuse? Because the same way you now talk about why it is you don't talk about the criminals in the area and why it is you don't come down on them. The same way when it is you have a boy on the block, every time something happens, he's always rate up himself and thing, and he's telling him, oh, small man, and relax yourself, but somebody go humble you one of these days, thing, whatever. Imagine that same person, the same hothead, now join the police service. So yes, you're still seeing a problem with being hot-headed. So you at no point in time in all your years of service, and nobody is training you. You just, because there's who you is, everybody had to take you as you is. Because you's my man, I had to take you as you is. Madness. Especially when you are in uniform. Nah.
Yeah, go ahead, Kayo. Go ahead, Kayo.
Can I, Peter? Alright, so let me tell you how this go, right? when they go on a patrol, they go in a police station. So let me say working operations or working on special unit. When they enter the office or the base, first thing you see is pictures of the troublemakers. Right? And the first thing you see. So you will see a picture that is these snooks wanted for murder, robbery, a drug offender. You see all these things on the bottom, all the crimes. And then you might go to patrol. Next 2 days you might hear, "Oh, you looking all shooting last night. He killed a man. He was not shooting." Because trust me, the police doesn't know it. But tell you something, the police doesn't know everything. So let me say, boom, Wednesday morning you're on a patrol.
Hold on, wait.
And you
on your story. Hold on your story. So you are highlighting that the police service is ineffective.
Wait. I wouldn't say that, Ria, because bear in mind the police service has to function on being able to prove something in court. So I know.
Wait, well, how they know? Oh, if
because there's word on the ground. There's word on the ground. You find out.
Yes, they don't stand up in court for you.
Exactly.
You know somebody killed somebody. You have to have hardcore proof.
So you're talking about him saying he knows.
Snakey killed that man. How you know Snakey killed that man? Because that what Big Head say. Big Head from Tojam and Tojam head from his mother. That is not how it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be that you have concrete evidence. You know for sure Snakey killed that man.
Here's the thing. I will give just now. I will give the police some balance in this area because I could understand how investigation works. In order to build up the investigation, you build it up from a point where you don't have sure facts. You build it up from what Big Ed say and what Vice Grip say and Skinny Man say. You build it up from that and you're trying to get concrete evidence. But up until you have concrete evidence, you could have a pretty solid map of what you think you know goes on, but you don't have proof of it yet. So I understand. Wait, before you go on, I understand the point you're trying to make, Kayo, where you go out on the beat and you have a fair idea of the characters you are mingling with. You know, at least allegedly, what these men are known for. So, go ahead, Kayo, finish with that point. We'll go on from after that, Ria.
All right, you don't have to forget.
Right. What I was saying later. Yeah, so you have let me say one about patrol on Wednesday morning, and they happen to drive along the road, and you saw Snakey that I murdered last night driving in this vehicle. What you gonna do? You're gonna let him pass? You're happy like a normal thing? No, you're gonna give him pressure because you know you cannot prove it, but you know. And here's the next point. You're going through all the hustle and bustle. You're going through all the hustle and bustle to take him in front of the court in which the judiciary system, this failed judiciary system.
Well, here's the thing, right, Kayo? Yeah. If I were to take your view, then my recommendation would be for the officer, don't slap up people, put them 6 feet. You understand what? Because slapping them doesn't actually help the situation. They're still going to be on the road. They're still going to be doing what they're doing. So if you're saying that you know these men are criminals, you know you can't prove it in the court system, and you still want to do something about it, well, doing something about it isn't slapping them up. That's my point. And the thing is, I do not want a system where the police are the law, because I know that some police are not honest.
Nathan.
No, hold on, wait, Kayo, let me just...
Look, please, we are wanting one thing. People, please, let's not forget, the crime rate is almost 600. Go ahead, Rhea.
Hear me out. You see what you just said there? You, as Nathan said, this vigilante justice that the police feel that they're supposed to bring. Like, y'all are not Batman, please. Stop it. You literally just said, you know Snakey commit murder last night, or 2 days ago, and because you see him wherever, you decide to pepper him. Isn't that victimization? Isn't that bullying? You pull up the man without just cause, you didn't even see a broken tail light or a missing mirror or something to say, well, hey, let me pull your aside and let me see if I can get a little information out of you. You just know, allegedly, that he killed a man 2 nights ago, so you decide you're seeing him, so you go and pull up on him. Pull aside thing, you just decide, come outside, you have your gun so.
But Ria, let me be the just now, Ria, let me be the advocate for the police for the one. Okay.
You ever victim of
No, because no wait, hold on. Because basically, what you said just now in your scenario, is that you know something went down, and you yourself said the justice system is rubbish. You take matters into your own hands. That's basically what you said. You see a man that you know
Ria,
commit a crime 2 days ago.
Ria, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way, Ria. Ria, let me put it this way. If the police were to go out to the country and take a survey and ask generally, country, if we as the police know of a murderer, would you mind if we kill him? I could assure you the country would generally say no. So, you could, the way how you're putting that there, some police might see it as you're being naive. If you think about, I'm not saying I don't understand the position they're in. So let me say it, I understand the position. They're saying, I could see on the streets, because I'm beating the streets day in, day out. Good night, Clyde. I'm beating the streets day in, day out. I can see on the streets, I know the men in the murdering business. But these men have gotten themselves in key places where it's difficult for them, it's difficult for the police to be able to prove it in a court. So these men cannot be taken in. So as a police, if I want to decrease the murder rate in the country, what do I do then? And here's the thing. There are people, just this week I was in a discussion on a Facebook post where somebody was begging for the flying squad to come back. Do you know what the flying squad was? Basically the same thing he's talking about there. My problem is, though, that doing such things doesn't create a long-term solution. Because the same reason that there are many criminal gangs is the same reason there are many criminal police. And if you give the police the license to be criminal openly, then you aren't going to decrease the problem of criminality in the country. You're just going to relocate it. So it's no longer going to be from the gangs, it's going to be from the police. So I don't want that system. I am not saying that I don't understand why that system is tempting. I fully understand why it's tempting, because I understand that it's hard to prove it. You know these men are involved, and you think, okay, well, let's just solve this issue by taking out these men. I think in the long term, it doesn't solve the issue. 14 Carat says, no, it doesn't. All it does is breed hatred and resentment.
But even in that is part of the problem, though. The fact that they are saying, the fact that police are saying, yes, we know who the criminals are. Yes, we know who the gang leaders are. Yes, we know who the gang members are. Yes, we know how guns coming in. Yes, we know how this thing, we know how that thing, we know how that thing. And I don't mean to sound bad. Nothing is being done.
But here's what the police would say.
My question is, the police is acting on what they want to act upon.
No, the police are acting on actionable information. So here's the thing. For example, as with the guns. Recently we learned with the guns are coming in through our ports. And there are 13 booths with 3 customs officers selected to scan them. That's not on the police. The scanners on the port aren't working. That's not on the police. The Coast Guard isn't controlled by the police. The government officials who may be allowing certain things to run under the radar aren't controlled by the police. The police officer on the beat, the police officer in charge of this area of the task force, they aren't in control of the entire police service. He may know that a senior police official might be turning a blind eye to another area, and there's nothing he could legally do about that. So I could understand it from their point of view. I'm saying that this does not help. But I am not saying that it isn't frustrating, because the point he's making is, as a police officer, you can't change the judicial system. You are very much aware you have no effect on that. You can't change that. So it could be frustrating where you know these men are involved in this, you know they're going to do it again, but you also know you can't do anything because of the clampdown nature of the system you are in.
Nathan, and I don't mean to sound bad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nathan, now I want to remind you. You know about the shooting that's happening in I think it's Belmont, where they say the guys was, where the police kill the guys in the car, they were caught on camera.
Yeah.
And it caused the big rat in town.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Do you know that those officers, I work with those officers personally. Those officers were some of the greatest officers I ever worked with. You know what I'm saying? And it is sad what I'm telling them, somebody in jail or away from the family. Look how unfair life is. And those guys that were killed were criminals. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing, Kyle. By the definition of the word criminal, those police would be considered criminals too.
No, but when it is, I just now made the point where it is, you're taking the law into your own hands and you're just, you know what? Yeah, my thing, right? So go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, Sierra Leone, that you have a problem with vigilante justice, eh? Nathan,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sierra Leone,
I have a problem.
Right. Okay. Could you all remember the first SOE, the SOE where Kamla won?
Mm-hmm.
What was the crime rate in that SOE?
Very low.
But hold on, you can't.
Okay, go ahead, Nathan.
Here's the thing.
Was we in our houses from like 6 or 8 o'clock in the night? Like, the only time you was out in the days to go to work?
That is what we need right now. We need a short-term goal to stop the crime. The long-term vision to stop crime is we have to go back to history, and we have to change the law where we say stop corrupt punishment in schools. That's a long time plan. But we don't need a long time plan. We need a short-term vision to stop the rapid crime rate. And the only way to do it is by vigilante justice. When we do the vigilante justice and we cool it down, like we go back now, and we start working on the youths. We bring back Silval, we bring back Christ College. We start working with families. You know what I'm saying? That is the cause of the crime.
I agree with your second piece. I do agree with your second piece. Here's the thing though, Kyle. Someone was asking me about this. You want to know what I will trust more than that? I will trust arming the citizens. And here's the thing I find so strange. Many police officers would be okay with vigilante rogue police going around shooting people, but they aren't okay with arming people inside of their homes. The old man that was murdered in Charlieville or something like that with the house breaking, his family, when you listen to the account of the incident, his family knew the men were in the yard. They knew the men were there last week. They complained about it last week, and the police did not show up or investigate, just by the way. And they came back this week. They heard them in the yard. If that family had a legal firearm in the yard, those bandits would not have killed the father. And even if we had rogue police who were going to kill out the bandits would have still killed the father. So if you're asking me where I would be, if I want to get things more drastic, I don't want vigilante justice from the police because I don't trust them. If I allow them to get the permission to kill people, I don't trust they are only going to kill criminals, because we already have many allegations that the police are doing the killing on behalf. Do you know that there were what, about 8 murders in the last 2 months with TTR, Trinidad and Tobago Regiment shells found on the crime scene. They murdered a hardware owner in Kelly Village, Caroni, just yesterday or day before. TT Regiment shells used for his murder. So I'm sorry, but I don't have all that faith in the services that they are only going to do it on the good side of things. So what if I were to make a drastic suggestion, it's not for vigilantism in the services. Arm the population so they could defend themselves even against the crooked police.
I would like to interject here where Kayo made a statement from before about all the things that need to come back or change, the thing, whatever. I agree that absentee parents, that a lack of discipline, that lack of this, lack of that is the reason why criminals are being brewed, because there's nothing. But let's just, these are effects. Let's just look at the cause. Absentee parents, is it? Yes, there are some fathers or mothers who are just not in their children's life. But what about the parents who work 2 jobs and so the children have to grow up themselves? So we're not addressing the fact that income is a problem, a proper standard of living is a problem. We're not addressing that. You said something about community, about thing, whatever. So if it is you are in the business of vigilante justice, you don't believe in second chances. You don't believe that the 16-year-old boy who get caught up in drugs and get caught up in gangs could change his life around and be a doting husband by 30. You don't think that he could be a member of society that adds and is one to bring positivity because of this life that he started at. He reached a point where there was something life-changing for him, that he did a complete 180, and he's now on the other side of it, where it is he gives to the community, where it is he shows people there is a better way to be, a better way to do. If it is you are telling me that there are certain problems in society, and your thing is once it's problematic, get rid of it, then how are you even dealing with the issue at hand?
Ria, let me address that for you. Good night, everyone, right?
Good night.
Ria, good night. Ria, you have to understand, it's not a matter of, as you said, the 16-year-old who wants to live a decent life at the age of 30. His peers are not going to allow him to reach that stage. His peers will take him out. Because many of the crimes that committed today is the same boys who wants to leave the gangster life behind and try and go and live in the church. And from the time they are spotted, a phone call is made, a car pass, and everything done. You understand? And if not them, their relatives pass in a rush. Now, Nathan, as I said before, pertaining to the police situation, right? I believe it already has vigilante justice going on in the police, but it's only for the higher-ups in society. Let me bring my case to point. Do you remember the young man who was accused of killing the constable in Rich Plain, Diego Martin?
Yes.
Went on, right. What is his case now? And he's dead?
Yes, he's dead.
And the whole case gone silent. The whole case is going to get silent, and it's going to be thrown out. Yeah?
Matthew, you know that same guy that the public is crying out for? Did you know that he did a shooting some weeks before his death?
Yes, I know that. Yes, okay. But what I'm saying is, right, the reason why he's dead is not because of the murder, that he committed. It is because he was holding information that would have hung some of the policemen. And that is the truth that they don't want to unearth. So they kill him. And you want to know how they could systematically kill people like that? Let me explain something to you, Kayo. If you are a gang member, right, they will pick you up in a van, open the back, and drive through your enemy territory and throw you out, right? And drive off and leave you there. You ever hear about that?
Matthew, you know these things?
I don't talk, I go on.
All right, I don't deny what Matthew is saying there, but I would pull that in to part of the reason why I would not trust. You I think you have to leave there, Matthew. Nah, you would have to leave, Matthew. So I would join that to the entire reason why I wouldn't want vigilantes. Because I am aware of that. We know about those stories. So as you're talking about that, Matthew, another one I found suspicious. There's a certain community leader, very well known all over social media, and the man has had 5 attempts on his life at least in recent times, and nearly every single attempt on his life was made after he left a police station, which I find strange. He came to a police station for some investigation or something. Upon leaving, there's an attempt on his life. Not even by the police, by other members. So I don't trust that the police have... Listen, I'm not calling names, Mr. No Juegos, but I don't trust that the police necessarily would have the best interest. That's why we attempt to be run by laws. We don't want it that the police exist outside of the law. And I understand why the frustration is there. The frustration is there because you're saying that these laws aren't working in the first place. But if the laws aren't working, the solution to that isn't to throw away the entire law book and then allow the police to be the law. That is just more chaos to me. All right, so I'm looking to wrap up. If you all have any last comments or statements to make, you could jump in and say that there.
I would just like to make the statement that I do not support criminals nor criminality, but two wrongs don't make a right. Not because you're wrong, I could be more wrong to right your wrong. That's what I'd say. Okay.
People, what I want to say is that we need to have patience, and we need to support the police service and other members of the protective services. It is very hard. It is very drenching. While you all home with all the family in the night, we outside there with you behind these demons. I wouldn't call them criminals, they are demons. But we need to understand. To get the crime rate down, that's what I'm saying. We need to be rough and aggressive. Like, and the last thing I will say, when they see it happening, cover their face. Cover their face and let's walk away. Just know that person is not an innocent person or a law-abiding citizen. Good night, Nathan.
Good night, bro. You're asking. Good night. You're asking for a lot of trust from the citizens and the police there. You're asking for a lot of trust. That every time I see the police doing something, I am to trust that they are doing it for the right reason. I'm sorry, but I can't trust that because I know some police and I know not all of them are good people. That's just the reality of it. We can't trust that. What we do trust is the law that we have agreed upon. All right, folks. I thank you all for being here. I really thank you all for joining in. This is what makes the live better. A nice discussion. It was fun. Thank you all as usual. I will see you again for the next live, which will be tomorrow. Yeah, I think I can make tomorrow, Friday. The next Mindful Live is going to be here tomorrow, starting around 9:15 to 9:30 thereabouts. You know, sometimes we go a little later, but we will fight that point tomorrow, Ria. We will fight that point tomorrow. Get better police to speak, please. Richard, I know... You're lurking, bro. Sorry for coughing so much, y'all. Bro, you're lurking. You were supposed to come up here and defend your... I know you're not a police, but you're supposed to come up here and provide a better defense, man. All right. Write it down, Ria. Write it down. Folks, it was nice. I'm going to see if I could get some African sea coconut, a little honey and stuff, and see about that. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. It was nice. Peace. Later, folks. Go follow me on YouTube. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can take up all of that. Is that so? No way goes. If that is so, tell your boss. If that is really your boss, tell him I want to have a mindful conversation. At some point in time, I want to have a sit down and talk. If it's really your boss, some point in time we must talk. Tell him that. I'm serious. All right, later, folks. Peace.